Anyway, I haven't been able to read anything or write anything, and I got my first query rejection today, so... Hi, Eclipse Project, how you doing? Really, it's not work. It's brain dumping onto a page. It's fucking weird. Anyway, it just happens, okay? I guess it just happens. Where is she at? There she is. Kre. And I've already started writing in past, so, you know. Here we are. We'll never know. Not sponsored by Wendy's, by the way, because one day I will get enough snippets to make an entire book and thread them together. I saw you in my dream. I would like to state that, for the record, I have actually been taking a break. Not that I expect anyone to believe me, because I am a workaholic, but I have been taking a break, sort of. Hello, friends, and welcome to a vlog. This is a little bit of an unorthodox vlog, a little bit different than what I usually do. I just realized my air conditioner's on. You probably can't hear a fucking word I've said. Apologies for that. Every time. So this is a little bit of an unorthodox vlog, if you could even call it that. Basically, I have taken the last 2 weeks off of writing. I've been sending queries. I've been working on some brain rot. Just a little bit of brain rot. And I did that last week in like Thursday and Friday, and I only worked on it for a couple of hours. So if you count that as working, okay, maybe I've been working a little bit, but it's not work. It's brain dumping onto a page, which, you know, I didn't want to lose it. So I did that, and I basically like got my brain dump out and was like, great, I can go back to having another week of rest because oh my god, I'm fucking tired. You know, burnout is no joke. And then when you finally let yourself rest, it's like, you're fucking tired, bitch. So anyway, now I don't have an appropriate segue for this next section, except for the fact that I was resting. And on Friday, I was talking to my good friends, the Troublemakers, and Wallace was telling me about her experience watching House of the Dragon, which, if you don't know, is the Game of Thrones prequel that is about the Dance of Dragons, which is the civil war between the Targaryens. A whole bunch of shit happens. I've only watched the first episode, and I just can't get past the incest. Couldn't get past it before, to be clear, but now I'm getting TikToks about Daemon and Rhaenyra, and I'm like, please no. Please, for the love of God, no. Please, he's her uncle. So not only is the incest creepy, the age gap is fucking weird. Anyway, the point being, I was holding off on watching House of the Dragon for 2 reasons. One is because I absolutely hate with a burning fiery anger the way the Game of Thrones ended, as I'm sure many of you know because I have not been quiet on that subject matter. The second reason was I was afraid that by watching it I would spiral into my dragon book, which I really don't have time for at the moment because it's gonna take a lot of research and a lot of time and such, and you know, I was like, I really don't want to work on it. So I was incorrect. I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon. I will be continuing. I think I can get over the fact that I hate Game of Thrones enough to watch the prequel, because luckily there's none of the bullshit of the Game of Thrones happening here. Although I do know everything that happens in House of the Dragon, so, you know, I know nothing's gonna end up good. But the point being is that watching House of the Dragon made me go, oh, the Eclipse Project. Oh, the Eclipse Project. And so very late at night, I remade my Eclipse Project Pinterest boards and reorganized them because the other one was hideously messy and terrible. And this one is significantly less messy. I actually kind of like this one. I like the style that I've been using for my Pinterest boards lately. I'm back on my Eclipse Project bullshit. If for some reason you're not completely obsessed with my life and don't know every single detail about every single project I have, let me give you a quick recap rundown of the Eclipse Project and what happened with it. This book has been in my brain for a very long time. It was the book I started working on after I finished The Wrath King. Technically, the first time, this is the book that I started working on when I started my YouTube channel, so it kind of feels, you know, apt that I'm making another vlog about it because there's so many absolutely atrocious vlogs on my channel about the Eclipse Project. So I come back to it, it doesn't work out. I come back to it again and again and again. And if you're following me for any length of time, you will know that this book has absolutely kicked my ass every single time and shoved me out the door, you know, locking the door to keep me out in the cold while it just parties inside. Gives me the bird out the window of this metaphorical house we're talking about. That was weird. Anyway, I was going to write the Eclipse Project 2 Aprils ago, so April 2021. That is actually, funnily enough, when I started writing my first soulmate fan fiction that I cannot file the serial numbers off of. It's also only 34,000 words of like a novella thing. Anyway, it was based off of a show. But I really did think that I was gonna work on the Eclipse Project. I even have an Eclipse Project notebook, like an entire notebook devoted to the Eclipse Project. I don't even have a notebook devoted to the Wrath King or to Cruel Summer. Is it the notebook? Is the notebook the problem? I don't think the notebook's the problem, but I do in fact have this notebook. There it is, the Eclipse Project. with all my little mood boardy things. Oh, TLDR or TLDW. The Eclipse Project scares the shit out of me. I don't know how to write it because it's massive, but it's also a book that feels very, the pieces are all there. They're just not clicking together, and that's fucking irritating because it's a massive book. It's a massive scope. It has a lot of things going on in it. So I've returned to the Eclipse Project. I've reopened my Scrivener file, opened up the door of the house. It's finally let me in for some reason, just to slap me across the face again because it looks fucking difficult. And yeah, I remade a Pinterest board. I reread some of the things that I'd written for the Eclipse Project eons ago. And god damn it if it isn't actually decent, some of the shit that I wrote for this book. It's the thing that's frustrating. When I do manage to write it, it goes really well. It's like very much a book that feels like me. Just there's a lot of shit. And part of me just wants to go rogue and go full Tibifo, this book is for October, with it on my channel, which just basically just means I spoil the entire thing and tell y'all about it and kind of open up my process entirely to you guys being a part of it. Because at this point, I really genuinely do not have any idea how I can even begin to write this book because fuck, I've tried. The Eclipse Project is back and kicking, and I don't know what I'm doing with it, but I have several more days of my time off, my break, my vacation, to figure it out. So a very long-winded way of saying the bitch is back, and by bitch I mean the Eclipse Project, and I'm about to get my ass handed to me. Fantastic. Also, if anyone is wondering and wants more detail on the Eclipse Project, I have a 36-minute video explaining a lot of the shit that's in it, and a lot of it's still accurate, actually. I think most of it's actually accurate. And I also have several mood board videos. I think I have a playlist about the Eclipse Project. If I do, I'll leave it linked down below, but if it's one of my most popular videos. So if you just reverse engineer for most popular on my channel, you'll find the all about my novel for the Eclipse Project. If that's something you're interested in, maybe I need to rewatch it as a refresher. Maybe I do. This is the time.
2,000 years later.
Okay, so I'm in bed, as you can see, and I'm gonna be watching episode 2 of House of the Dragon. Now, I mentioned in a previous clip that I made the mistake of starting to watch it, and then I was like, oh, this is very reminiscent of the Eclipse Project in vibes. I've been a little afraid to watch it. However, I'm going to dive in, but the reason I'm making this clip is because I am on House of the Dragon TikTok, so I like know a bunch of the spoilers that already happened. You'll see how this ties in a minute. There is a mechanic within the Eclipse Project world where there's this like soul-eating entity void in like the center of one of the countries, and it's slowly moving to devour the entire continent. The thing that happens when you interact with one of these people, like one of the husks of one of the people whose soul has been torn, you become fractured. Now, I'm not going to go into everything that goes along with that because plot and spoilers, but one of the things that happens if you have a lot of your soul wrenched out is that your natural hair color gets bleached bone white. All of the color is leached from it and you become very pale. And so I started working on this project in 2020. In 2020, I came up with a character based on a very old character that I had, and he had long black hair because he's from one of the countries, and that is they always usually have very long hair, and that's something they take pride in. And during one of the fights that he's in, because he's a soldier, he loses an eye. If you don't watch House of the Dragon, you're not going to understand why those two things go together. All three of those things go together. If you do, I accidentally created Aemond Targaryen about 2 years before I knew who Aemond Targaryen was. It's the same eye too. It's the fucking left eye too. I can't make this shit up. Like literally, he has stark white hair, long stark white hair, which he's kept as a rebellion. I don't know if Aemond does that, I don't think he does, but he's kept it as a rebellion because another character has cut his hair that's super white, and that's usually what they do. So yeah, he doesn't wear an eye patch though, I will say. He just goes around free socketing it. I was gonna say free balling, but there's no eyeball left. I am a little bit worried to watch House of the Dragon and get even more inspired for the Eclipse Project because Aemond is very similar to how I pictured this character, which was totally by accident. I know we don't get Aemond for several episodes. I'm on episode 2, but I just know I'm gonna become addicted. I want to watch every single episode like right away. That's my long tangent about the fact that I accidentally created Aemond Targaryen 2 years before I knew who Aemond Targaryen was. It just happens, okay? I guess it just happens. Why is this happening to me? I don't know. Anyway, gonna be watching dragons and shit.
Much, much, much later.
So, the Eclipse project has been on my mind recently, as you will know. The majority of what I have for this project is currently in snippets, and I could move them around, weave them together at a later date. There currently is a lot of plot, but not a lot of structure. There's gonna be a lot of books, I think. I hope. I don't know. But part of me was thinking the other day when I was listening to my Eclipse Project playlist while I was folding laundry, I wanted to write the scene that actually takes place 10 years previous because one of our main characters is exiled and believed to be dead. He isn't actually, because of a whole lot of political complications going on and an absolutely insane mad queen or lady. She's not actually queen. She's delegate for another, I don't know what you would call it. She's called the Raven Lady. Anyway, she's now dead 10 years future. There's just so much in this book. I genuinely don't know how to talk about the majority of it. So I'm going to write something. We're gonna test it out. Maybe I'll read you some snippets of what I actually have. I have my actual queen character. The current queen meets the commander of what is called the Sorrowborn. So the Sorrowborn are a legion of elite soldiers chosen specifically by their commander, who is one of the main characters. Her name is Kre. She's a badass bitch that everyone hates because she's, you know, has a terrible reputation. The bastard of the Raven Lady, the former Raven Lady, the one who exiled another main character. I need to make like a chart. I need to make a graph. Anyway, Kre is her name. She is insane. Let me tell you a bit about Kre, because I feel like she's one of my favorite characters I've ever created. I love talking about her. I really do. Where is she at? There she is. Kre. There's two races. I hesitate to call them races, but just for ease of talking about it. In this world, there is Vespirans and Rhaesorans, and Vespiran, they can, I don't like calling them races because they can mate together, or they can have children together. Mate is a weird word. Sorry about that. But they're two different cultures, two different societies, and have very different physical characteristics. So all of the Vespirans are extremely tall, super fucking tall. Kre is 6'8". Most of them have really dark hair. They have a variety of complexions from very pale to very dark. Then there are 3 types of Vespirans in the magic system. So there are shapeshifters, there are copper spinners, and then there are heart weavers. Shapeshifters are the most common. Kre is a shapeshifter. She turns into a giant black dog wolf. Copper spinners can manipulate metal. They're specifically called copper spinners because a lot of their ancient cities were built on copper, and so that was the metal that they had most access to. So that's why they're called copper spinners. Heart weavers are the most important. They are the ones who connect body, mind, and soul together, and they can manipulate those things specifically. Rhaesor has an entirely different magic system, which is based on elements and cycles and seasons, which I'm not going to get into at this moment. You can have, like, say, like a Vespiran and a Rhaesoran could have a child, and that child could have Vespiran powers, could be like a copper spinner, along with, like, they could maybe have powers associated with the fire element and summer and stuff. It's a very complicated mix of genetics. One of our main characters, Aster, who is the queen, her whole family line is a bridge between Vespira and Rhaesor, and so her mother was a burner, so she had fire powers, but Aster is a little bit more Vespiran, so she has the ability to shapeshift into a black cat. That was a way too long explanation of what's going on. Anyway, the point is, Kre is Vespiran. Most of the Sorrowborn are Vespiran, except for some very powerful Rhaesorans. They are essentially the, like, legion of soldiers that takes out the large swaths of the creatures that emerge from the void. What I love about Kre is creating just the most unhinged backstory for her. So the Vespirans are led by someone who is called the Raven Lady. They are a matriarchal society. I apologize for all of the construction that's happening out there. There is the Raven Court, and she has a council. Current Raven Lady is Kre's half-sister, older half-sister. Her name is Jin. So she's got a very complicated history when it comes to that. She could technically take over, hostile takeover coup style, but Kre does not want power. She wants peace, which is contrary to popular belief, because a lot of people believe that Kre just wants to eat things and kill things, but she only kills things because she has to. It's the only thing she's ever known. She's also called the Vulture, despite the fact that her shape-shifting form is not a vulture, because there is a rumor and a myth going around that she does eat the deadened husks of the creatures that she kills on the battlefield, the Void. The creatures that come out of the Void are called the Severed, which is very complicated because for so many reasons. There's just so, again, I've given you like this much of everything that I've come up with for the Eclipse project. There's so much of it, and I don't know how to get it all within a book. Like, this is truly my epic fantasy. Like, I thought the Wrath King was my epic fantasy. No. I mean, it is an epic fantasy. This is another fucking this is my Game of Thrones. This is my Mistborn. This is my magnum opus. don't know. Anyway, there's a lot going on. I understand if you like have no idea what the fuck I'm saying half the time and you're like, hey, what the hell are you talking about? You're crazy. Because I am, but I'm free. I think I'm gonna write a scene about Kre. End of story. That's what I was trying to say earlier, and I didn't get there. Didn't make it happen. Let's just get into it. Let's just write. I've been dawdling for 8 minutes. The difficult thing that I had not anticipated is the fact that I was writing the Eclipse project snippets in past tense, but I've been writing almost exclusively this year in present tense, so I'm now slipping back into present tense, which I will admit is very weird for me. I've fallen in love with present tense, but I'm writing this snippet in past, and I've already started writing in past, so, you know, here we are.
Tomorrow for sure.
Hello. Oh, the lighting is so bad. This is better. For the most part, ignore the hat. It's just that we got my niece one that looks exactly the same in her size, because she's a baby, and now it was required by the entire family to get them. So here we are, and my hair is really dirty, so I'm just gonna tuck that underneath the hat. I'm gonna get my tripod. Hold, please. And we're back. I'm ending my Eclipse project writing day with 1,221 words. New words, I should say. I finished a snippet I started earlier a couple weeks ago, and then I was starting to write a new snippet. I also created a new playlist for the Eclipse project. This is the Eclipse project version 3. Oh, you cannot see that. Version 3. I'll have it linked on Spotify below. But I've truly just been listening to The Crown of Jaehaerys, the really beautiful song from House of the Dragon over and over and over again, because that's all the vibes. That's the vibes, truly. I was considering for these videos doing a little bit of reading of what I wrote each day. I don't know if I'm gonna follow through with that every single day I write, but especially because some of it is very difficult to explain out of context, and not a lot of stuff will make sense out of context. I'm going to read you a bit from one of the snippets I started and finished today, just so you can get a vibe for Kre, since I was talking about her earlier. Again, this is not revised, this is first draft work. Got a Coke here. There'll be chapters if you wish to skip it, but I figured I'm not writing this book for like a million more years, so it's just a bit of fun. Okay, context. Aster is the queen of both Vespera and Rhaesor. The two countries are united against the Void. They are no longer fighting against each other. Kre is again the commander of a legion of soldiers called the Sorrowborn. This is their first meeting. Aster does not turn as the doors of her chamber swish open. Your Majesty? She is not surprised to hear the captain's voice wash over her. I present Commander Kre Aster of the Sorrowborn. Can't believe it's taken this long for us to meet. Kre's voice is full of mocking joy. It already grates on Aster's nerves, but she smooths her features before turning and striding across the council room. Thank you, Captain. That is all. His brow furrows, clearly displeased by this, but he bows and leaves. The commander of the Sorrowborn sizes her up, doesn't bother to bow, and starts smiling. Your Majesty, she says, the mocking tone never leaving. Aster takes in Kre Aster's figure. She is much taller than Aster because she is purely Vesperan. Her ink-black hair falls straight, almost hidden against her black cloak and fatigues, but glints like a raven's wing. Even without a sword on her belt, Aster knows in her heart that Kre could kill her with a single hand. Her eyes, smoky amber, meet Aster's without flinching. Her smile is a wicked knife, pulling at the scar on her cheek. The stories do not exaggerate how intimidating she is. Aster is slightly unnerved because she is nothing like Chisnut, not in beauty or temperament. Although Aster has not met the Raven Lady, Vrejaheen, she has heard they bear a striking resemblance to each other. I am pleased to finally meet the realm's savior, Aster says coolly, switching to Vesp with ease. Kre's face betrays her surprise for a split second, but Aster is watching. Kre's head tilts. Ah, what a polished tongue you have, Your Majesty, Kre says back in Vesp. Aster wants to shrug, but she pins the urge and keeps her shoulders and head held high. Tell me, Commander, why do they call you the Vulture? Kre strides smoothly forward and surveys the carved table of Vespera and Rhaesor. She leans on her palms, bending just enough to meet Aster dead in the eye. Her smile flattens, leaving her face impassive and hard as stone. The angle's deep with shadow as she tilts out at the torchlight. I eat the bodies of the dead to maintain my strength on the battlefield, Your Majesty. Aster does not flinch. She does not break her gaze. Does this mean you eat our soldiers and gain nothing nutritious? Her voice is colder than expected, but she quirks a brow, hoping Kre is smart enough to parse her meaning. Kre's fingernails scrape into the carved iron, sending a shiver down Aster's spine. Well, aren't you a feisty thing? You have some of your mother after all. She covers her anger well, snapping back at Aster with vicious coolness. And she knows where to strike. Aster's grief nearly crumples her, and she swallows against the sudden agony in her chest. The wound is raw and weeping, and Kre digs her claws in. Oh, still hurts, huh? She's been dead less than a moon. And I mourn every single soldier that dies in the void. Kree's hand shoots out, and Aster flinches as silver arcs through the air. Metal screeches against metal as Kre drives a dagger into the table. Right into the heart of Vespera, into the heart of the void. Her triumph over making Aster flinch is replaced by wild, unbridled anger. So do not insinuate, your majesty, that I send soldiers to die willingly, Kre snarls. Aster's stomach twists into uncomfortable knots, but she meets Kree's gaze evenly. Good. Neither of us need to lose more soldiers. Kree's curled lip remains. Aster steps closer to the table and leans on it, mimicking Kree's posture. I need to know if you'll still be an effective commander. If you've grown apathetic in your years, you've held this role. I wish to be the last queen, and I intend to do everything in my power to destroy the void. I am glad to see we have the same objective. Kree's knuckles are white around the knife, but her snarl softens. I do not appreciate being called incompetent. Aster's lips twitch. Good. I do not wish to have an incompetent commander. Kre yanks the knife from the table and steps back, crossing her arms over her chest. What was your plan there, your majesty? You just goaded a 15-year veteran. I guarantee you wouldn't win a fight against me. And if I was apathetic, as you say, who says I wouldn't have just slit your throat? Your reputation precedes you. Aster knew the risk. She'd also heard enough stories about Kre to know that she was not a traitor. She has given so many years of her life, so much of her body, so many of her soldiers for this cause. Aster knew she wouldn't toss that away. The Star Scythe vouches for you. That is all I need. But I always want to see for myself. That's all I can give you. The rest of it's like more political stuff, but I don't know if most of that is written how I want it to be written, but you know, it is what it is at this point. I know it's kind of funny now that I'm looking at myself in the thing, is that I was reading Kre and I have fucking fluffy pom-pom ears on. It's just the vibe we're going with today. I'd like to think in another life maybe Kre would wear these too for her niece, but we'll never know. Not sponsored by Wendy's, by the way. Hi, hello. It is November 26th. It's a Saturday. I haven't written very much in the Eclipse Project, mostly because I've been knocked on my ass by a variety of things, including a migraine and the fact that it was the holidays. Today, while I was cleaning up my room, because it was absolutely a mess in here and getting ready, I was listening to Taylor Swift's Midnights, and the amount of songs on that album that just scream the Eclipse Project is truly no joke. The Great War could be the theme song for the Eclipse Project. Dear Reader, I'm sorry, that's Kre's theme song. Would've, could've, should've. Vaguely, not exactly, but it could be partially attributed to the Eclipse Project. My mother has just informed me though that there's tennis on, so I am going to put my writing on pause right now and return to this later, but I just wanted to pick a tarot card for the Eclipse Project since this is the last day I'm going to be working on it as kind of a summation of like what are my final thoughts after working on it. I've done a lot of thinking about the Eclipse Project, has been the main goal of it, and it is truly just the epic fantasy that just keeps on being epic and is so difficult. I realized the other day that I have 30,000 words of snippets, so eventually I've decided that I'm just gonna kind of at some point angle myself around to writing enough snippets so that it's a book. I was talking with Devesha the other day about how I am changing the Wrath King, but the Eclipse Project is truly an epic fantasy. Like I thought the Eclipse Project was going to be like a book I couldn't conquer, but now I'm just kind of realizing that I think the Eclipse Project is my Priory of the Orange Tree. Massive, epic fantasy, lots of magic systems, and a great big evil bad coming. No dragons though. Well, there's one person who can shapeshift into a dragon, but he's been dead for a while. He is important because to get into the Eclipse Project again, there's three main branches of the Eclipse Project, all circling around the fact that there is an interdimensional space void that is trying to eat the entire continent and suck all of the life out of it. One of the pathways is the Princess Aster, her political agenda. Another pathway is a former soldier and royal boy turned artist, having a whole artist plotline. And then the third one is about basically this mentor character who 10 years ago was supposed to defeat the void. It failed miserably, and now he has been dragged back in by the government to train three young prophesized people who have the same powers as he does. And one of them, there's three of them, they're 17 years old. Her father was a former Sauronborn soldier who was the elite soldier group. He could shapeshift into a dragon. And so she has his armor, and she, you know, very much fancies herself a dragon, even though she can't shapeshift into a dragon. But the dragon imagery, is very related to misfit she is. She's the dragon one. I just love them and the dynamic between the three, like basically children, and then this like 30-something guy who has never had a life of his own, and you know, either he trains these kids to defeat the void or they're just gonna die anyway. But I do love the mentor trope with, like, you know, spunky kids, and that's where Kre comes in, because Kre is his best friend. I love Kre. In case you were wondering, Kre does not actually have a POV. I think Kre is best seen through the eyes of the other characters, because every character who sees her differently. I've talked about this in my Eclipse Project video over a year ago now, where Kre to some is a villain, to some she is a hero, to some she is a friend, and to some she is an enemy. Very multifaceted. She's very interesting. I love writing about her, while also I have the knowledge of who Kre is. Like, I could write from Kre's perspective, but I don't, because I think it's better if she's like, you don't see her yet. You don't see her inside her head yet. If this ever becomes a multi-book series, eventually you'd probably see Kre's perspective. But yeah, today I'm just gonna work a little bit on the Eclipse Project. I have a lot to write in invisible string, so, you know, we gotta get on that. I've been procrastinating because I wanna write this, but I also don't. Anyway, we're gonna pick a card for the Eclipse Project. My energy leaving the Eclipse Project is going to be this card. Hold on, which one feels correct to me? This one. If I get the Tower, I'm just not going to. Oh, okay. We have the Knight of Cups is the summation, which kind of makes sense because there's a lot of, not like knights, but there's a lot of like fighting, like soldiers and stuff, and like honorableness is a big theme within it, and like honoring your commitment to duty and stuff. Very much a big Kre theme, because she might be a bitch, but she does in fact follow orders because she's a soldier first and foremost. It's been a soldier since she was 10 years old. I just genuinely do not know what these things mean. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna Google it, because that's what we do when we don't know things. I like Labyrinthos. I don't know if it's actually a reliable source. It's the one that I like the best. Knight of Cups, and it was upright. This is how it came. Idealist, charming, artistic, graceful, tactful, diplomatic, mediator, a negotiator. Knight of Cups is a card which depicts a young knight who is gloriously riding a white horse while at the same time holding a cup as if he is a messenger of some sort. Unlike the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords, this particular one isn't charging along with his horse. He is instead moving slowly forward, which provides his entire setting an overall impression of peace and calmness. That's interesting, because the Eclipse Project gives me anxiety. Maybe I need to let that go. The horse is known to represent one's drive, energy, and power. The horse's color is white, which is a well-known symbol of spirituality, light, and purity. The upright meaning is, oh, the truth is that the Knight of Cups is the most feminine amongst the knight cards in the tarot. Interesting. A lot of the characters in the Eclipse Project are in fact female. It's important to note, though, even slightly suggests that he is any less worthy of a knight. Thank you for that. He is in proper touch with his emotions and intuitions, and he uses them for his own well-being and during his many romance and seduction quests. Okay, Gawain. He's usually attracting and charming to others, regardless of their gender. While faced with an actual decision, the Knight of Hearts is going to listen to his heart, regardless of whether this is actually a logical choice or not. He can also manifest as an event or a person in your life or a part of your own self. He appears as a messenger, and with him, he carries an invitation or arrival of something or someone which is going to have a certain emotional benefit for you. As a knight, he is also charged with taking the gifts of his suit and bringing them outward into the world. Therefore, he can also represent the undertaking of some project with significant emotional or creative value to you. Well, that's the Eclipse Project, because it means a lot to me, but it's so difficult. We're gonna look at the career meaning for the upright Knight of Cups, because that's what writing is in relationship to. The Cup of Knights represents your ability to handle situations at work with tact and grace. You're particularly diplomatic right now. Conflicts around you can be easier to deal with at this time. You're able to resolve issues with creative solutions, as well as your emotional connection and awareness of others. You can see solutions that might otherwise remain undiscovered. This creativity can apply to you in your intended profession in general. If you have been considering entering a job in the creative field, this card can also signify your success in that field. That's interesting to me. This card is making me feel like maybe I am on the right track with the Eclipse Project, and just continuing to power through is the best way to approach it. Because, you know, I have been feeling a lot of inspiration, a lot of creativity towards the Eclipse Project, especially having watched a bunch of The House of the Dragon, which is becoming a very big inspiration. You know, and listening to a lot of music that inspires me, and writing a lot of snippets, and kind of feeling like all of the pieces are there. It's just hard to put them together. They're very stubborn, and I'm not good at puzzles. This card is giving me some hope that perhaps the Eclipse Project is is the fantasy project I should be working on. Unfortunately, this is the last day I'm going to be working on it, so you know I have all this creative energy and I'm not going to be working on it. Maybe I should. I think that does mean good things for me today. I'm going to go eat some lunch and watch some tennis, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to write some more in the Eclipse project, because one day I will get enough snippets to make an entire book and thread them together. And I love this silly book. Very complicated, and I think it is going to take me years to write, which is unfortunate for everyone involved, including myself, because I just want it to be written now. This book's going to be a book that I grow with, I think. I will see you later tonight as we embark on our final day with the Eclipse project.
Later that night.
Okay, it seems only fitting, since we started the vlog on the bed, we're going to end the vlog on the bed. I am going to be ending my Eclipse project week with 2,339 words, which is not even close to the 5,000 I set out to write, with a lot of extenuating circumstances, such as I'm chronically ill and the holidays, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. So much time thinking, made many mood boards, and overall, I feel like I was fairly successful with the writing that I did do, even if I didn't do a whole ton. That's what I have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and otherwise, I will see you guys next week, hopefully. Anyway, bye friends.